Right. So let me share. So I had to restart the laptop. Okay. Apologies. So Anu, did you join?
I don't think so. I didn't see her.
Um,
Oh yeah, now
she's
she is joining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll do the Sahana Vavatu prayer.
Just 1 second. Let me.
Okay. So let's hear the Sahana Vavatu. And then, but before that, let me reshare it. When you share, you have to share with the computer volume. Computers.
सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. Hope everybody is doing great under the circumstances, of course. I think all of us got used to this new norms right now, because now we got rebaselined with this new standards. So I hope and pray that all of you are safe, and our prayers and wishes goes to all the people supporting us. And I'm sure very soon we will get out of this. So we have been seeing one of the most wonderful topic of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Karma Yoga or Yoga. This topic is one of the most important topic of the Bhagavad Gita. And as I explained earlier, this is one of the topic with maximum practical value. Even if your goal is not a spiritual goal, like moksha or self-realization, still you can find something, this particular teaching as very valuable. And also I mentioned, when you hear Bhagavad Gita for corporates, Bhagavad Gita for management studies, they are talking only this part, not the knowledge about the absolute reality. So this Karma Yoga, which is such an important topic, applicable to all the people at all time, that's what we have been seeing. So from verse 38 onwards, Krishna turned the corner, and he said, now, so far I talked to you about what is to be done. Now I'm going to talk about how it needs to be done. Esha te pihitasam ke bhuti yoge timam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahashisi. Then just like a marketing person who is going to advertise about his product, Krishna started glorifying about this karma yoga. Because this karma yoga, he said, it do not have the common problems associated with the usual karmas. So two problem, one is the completeness and second one is the backfiring or the negative results. These two problems are not there in karma yoga. For example, if it is agriculture, you have to follow a sequence and you have to complete it. Without completing it, you won't get benefit. And in some cases, like taking a medication, for example, penicillin or an antibiotic, if you don't take the full course, instead of benefit, you will get some problem. So that those two common problems are not there in karma yoga. Even a little bit of practice will help you that much. That is what Krishna said. And then he said the greatest benefit, one of the greatest benefit karma yoga is going to give you is the ability to focus, the skill of attention. And Krishna said, it means Vyavasayatmika Bhupi Ekeka Kurunandana. If you want to accomplish something in life, whether it is a spiritual goal or a material goal, one of the greatest skill you have to accomplish is the ability to focus on the work in hand. So this is such a mandatory skill, and Karma Yoga is going to develop your focus. And then he said, Bahushakha Hyanandascha Buddhayo Avyavasayina. And if you don't have focus, what is going to happen? You will be distracted and you will not be able to accomplish anything. And then Krishna made a controversial statement. He started criticizing the people who read the written of the Vedas and think that there is nothing else other than the rituals in the spirituality. And the word used is very powerful words. He said, Yamimam pushpitam vacham, like the flowery words of the unwise. That is the strong language he used. He came really hard on the ritualistic portion of the Veda. He didn't condemn the ritual, but people who stick themselves only to that ritual, and people who do that ritual only for gaining some finite results in their life. For example, why they seek God or the spirituality is not for the sake of God, but they seek the spirituality just for their purpose. And what is the real goal? Is it bhoga and aishwarya, like sensual enjoyments and power. So this people cannot develop that focus, and Karma Yoga is going to help you to overcome that. If you remember, that's exactly where we stopped. So we are going to continue from that topic onwards. Any questions? And I didn't get any questions in the mail, so we can move ahead. We can go into the teaching of the Karma Yoga. Again, in the second chapter, you are going to get an overview, and chapter 3, chapter 4, and chapter 5, we are going to deep dive into the Karma Yoga. And this is such an important skill. We all need to pay attention and master. So I know, why don't we chant verse 45?
Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunyo Bhavachuna Nitvandho Nitya Sattvasthaha Niryoga-kshema Atmavan.
This is such a beautiful verse again. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvanto Nitya Sattvastaha Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. This is the breakup. So Traigunya Vishayaha Vedaha. So Veda means the scriptures. All the scriptures in the world. It's when we say Veda, you can extend that to any scriptures in the world. People typically approaches scriptures for what? They want Traigunya Vishaya. They wanted to get some outcome. For example, I go to a temple and make a prayer. For what? For gaining a son or gaining a success. There is nothing wrong in that. But a lot of people stick their attention only into that. For them, spirituality, or means I would not call spirituality, but religion is an enabler for their material benefit. Isn't it? If you go to a temple and sit behind the idol and listen to the prayers, there should not be a rain tomorrow, or my stock should go up, or I should get a promotion. There is nothing wrong in that. But people think that this is the only goal. So for them, the spirituality or the Ishvara is a means for an end. Ishvara itself is not an end. And some people wants to go to heaven for what? Bhoga and Aishwarya. Because this heaven is a glorified place with all these sensual experiences. So why do you want to go to heaven? Is it for a spiritual reason? Absolutely not. I wanted a magnified sensual experience. Even in Hindu Puranas, don't think that this is for the Christians and Muslims. It is for the Hindu Puranas also. So Krishna tells people approaches Vedas with Traigunya Vishaya. Traigunya Vishaya means the finite results you get from pursuing the Vedic rituals or the worldly actions are Traigunya. They are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Meaning, Sattva means you will get great results. Like Rajas means you get mediocre results, and Tamas means you get bad results. So any action you perform in the means using the Vedic ritual or the counterpart of the Vedic ritual is our day-to-day activity. For example, you may invest some money in a stock. You may get wonderful result, like it means you may get some 100% return, or you may get a decent return of 5 to 7%. Third means next option is what your capital itself is gone. So these are the three possible outcomes. And what happens whenever we engage in a work, we are so anxious, so attached with the outcome of that result. This is the problem. The problem is not with the outcome, but our emotional dependency for a particular outcome. When I have that emotional dependency for a particular outcome, what is going to happen to my action? Can you tell me? When I'm over anxious, over excited, extremely worried about a particular outcome, what is going to happen? Can I perform that action freely?
Efficiency goes down.
Exactly. That is the problem. The flow, you won't get the flow at all. A flow means your ability to perform best. So why? Means you see, right, in a cricket match, when you chase, what is happening? The pressure mounts. If you're batting first and in the last over, it is easy to score 15 runs. But when you chase, this is a World Cup final and the last over, you need 15 runs. The pressure mounts. The situational pressure mounts. Why the situational pressure mounts? Because I'm obsessed. My eye is emotionally dependent upon the outcome. So the Traigunya Vishaya Veda, every action prescribed by the scriptures or the worldly actions means can expect three possible outcomes. And Krishna tells what is the Karma Yoga? Nistraigunya Bhava Arjuna. So you become Nistraigunya. You go beyond that. Don't get addicted. Don't get emotionally dependent. Don't get over anxious about the results. The results will come, but you should not get over anxious about the result. This is the basis of the Karma Yoga. And in the modern world, we call it as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence means the ability to monitor your emotions and manage your emotions so that you can perform better. Because typically the two problems whenever you work is your worry and anxiety. And this worry and anxiety is going to impact your present and where you can work hard. So this is the problem. So Krishna tells every outcomes of the Vedic rituals or the worldly actions, it can have three possible outcomes. It is excellent, it is mediocre, and it is totally opposite. And so you become Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. He said, you become free from these threefold qualities, good or bad or indifferent. Do what is to be done. And Nirdvanto, the next word use this. Nirdvanto Nitya Sattvastu. Nirdvantaha means the free from pairs of opposite. Because every action has three pairs of opposites. Chapter 2, verse 38, we heard that. What is that? Sukha, Dukkha. Sukha, Dukkha, Labha, Alabha, and Jaya and Ajaya. So Sukha, Dukkha means pleasure and pain. Emotionally, you feel, means happy, or emotionally, you may feel sad when you get the results. Whatever is the outcome. Means Sukha, Dukkha, Labha, Alabha. Sometimes it is profitable, sometimes it is loss. Then sometimes it is a victory, sometimes it is a loss. That is the law of the nature. So you should be freed from these anxiety. You should be free from the emotional dependencies. So how? Nitya Sattvastu, by getting connected with the higher, not with the lower. So the worldly actions or the karmas of the Vedas means they are Sattva, Rajas, or Tamas. You should not be getting attached to these results and you should be going beyond these results. How? You get connected with the higher. Nitya Sattvastu. Higher means what? Typically, you get addicted with this pair of opposites or the outcome when you are identified with the lower, like your physical body and the subtle body. The only way you can get out of it is try to get connected, try to surrender your actions as an offering to God. So Nitya Sattvastu and Niriyoga Chema Atmavan. Brilliant words. Niriyoga Chema means what? Yogaha means ability to collect or desire to collect what you don't have. I don't have a house now, so I'm desiring for that house. I'm not a executive VP right now, so I'm desiring for that. Chema means whatever I gained. I became a VP. Tomorrow they should not fire me. Chema means my worry about retaining what I have. So yoga means acquiring what I don't have. Chema means retaining what I have. So these two are the cause of worry and anxiety in almost every person's life. So you go beyond that. Go beyond the means the retaining of yoga and the chema. And then Atmavan. Atmavan means what? By gaining control over your body, mind, and intellect. The word Atmavan there, the word Atma there means it is your body, your mind, and your intellect, not the Satchidananda Atma. So once again, he tells the Vedas talk about the results, and that results would fall into these three categories: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Sattva might be most attractive to you, Rajas might be a little bit, and Tamas might be mediocre. And then Nistrai Gunyo Bhavarjuna, but you should not be dependent upon the results. Whatever is the result, means you should not be emotionally dependent. If the result is good, you will take it and be happy. If the result is not good, there is always a next time. You have to move on, because you cannot change everything in the world. The other day I quoted Vivekananda, right? What was that? A success man is a person who can face the failure. If you don't have the ability to face the failure decently, you cannot be successful. So that is what it is. So the Vedas talk about the results of three categories. You go beyond that three categories. And means then what is he saying? How do you go beyond these categories? Nirdvantaha. Be free from the pair of opposites. That is success, failure, heat, cold, pleasure and pain, victory or defeat. You don't get over emotionally attached. Nitya Sattvastu. How? You keep your goal something higher, something noble. That's it. And Niriyoga Chema Atmavan. Don't be emotionally dependent upon yoga and chema. And Atmavan. Atmavan means how can you do? By gaining control over your physical body, by gaining control over your mind, and by gaining control over your intellect. This is an overview of the Karma Yoga, an overview of the path ahead. Anybody attended executive presence or executive leadership training? You may hear exact same things. So I forgot the CEO's name. There was a CEO who is known for recovering companies from great loss. I forgot the name. Like he did 2 times. One is with Delta and means 2 airline companies. His greatest quality was this: he was not completely overwhelmed. Means he was cool, Mr. Cool. In sports, we have Mahendra Singh Dhoni, right? The famous Dhoni, known as Captain Cool. His greatest skill was not his ability to bat, but his greatest skill for winning match was his ability to keep calm and move ahead. This is what it is. Any questions or comments? No? Okay. So sentence by sentence breakup. So Krishna tells the Vedas, the Vedaha are Bhavanti, meaning are the one with the subject matter related to these 3 qualities or 3 outcomes. Traigunya Vishaya. So the Vedas, the karmas prescribed in the Vedas, especially the ritualistic portion of every scriptures, talk about karmas which would produce outcomes belonging to one of these three categories: sattva, rajas, tamas. On a high level, when you translate it, it tells like it would be extremely good, or it is extremely mediocre, or extremely opposite. And then Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. So O Arjuna means Arjuna, Bhava means be, Nistraigunya, free from these threefold qualities or the pair of opposites, from sorrow or the pair of opposites, Nirdundaha. Then ever established in the sattva or the higher. And then what? Niryoga Chema. So be free from the anxieties of acquiring and means protecting. And then be a master of yourself. Gain control over your body, be control over your mind, and be control over your intellect. So this is the essence of the entire yoga, not just karma yoga. The entire yoga philosophy, or the means I should not use the word philosophy. The entire yoga darshana is based on this one idea. So if you take the hatha yoga is designed for gaining control or giving control to your body and the mind. You can see that because the asanas, the pranayamas, the mudras, the bandhas, everything is designed for that. Bhakti yoga, it is another process to gain this control of your system. So this is the essence of yoga, and this is brilliantly summarized in this verse. Any questions? Okay, so we can move ahead. So Anu, why don't you chant if you...
यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः.
Another brilliant simile. It's a really interesting verse. He tells, Yavan arthaha udapane sarvataha samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanascha vijanataha. So let's try to understand. So let's say, for understanding this verse, we need to go back to ancient India. Meaning, even now, this is pretty much applicable. So in some areas of the India, right? So the water scarcity is there. So what people used to do at that point of time is, during summer, all the water reservoirs will dry up, and they try to go to a river, and naturally the river also will be dried up, and they go to the riverbed and dig a well. So udapanaha means it is, this is what? Udapanaha means it is a well or some water sources. So that is what it is. So they create this well, and that well is extremely useful. If you need water, you have to go there and fetch the water. But during the rainy season, what is going to happen to this well in the riverbed? The riverbed will be full of water. The well will be completely covered by the water. So Krishna's question is, what is the use of that well you digged in the river when there is a flood? When there is a flood, you don't need to go to that well to fetch the water, because the entire place is covered by water. This is the idea. So that example is used here. So Yavan, meaning for a spiritual practitioner. So he tells Brahmanasya. The word Brahmana here used, Shankaracharya clarifies, it is not by a caste. It is a spiritual practitioner. That is the person who understood Brahman. The person who non-Brahman is Brahmana. Of course, it got misinterpreted later point of time. That is a different matter. But we need to understand why it is used here. So the Brahmanasya, meaning a spiritual practitioner, and to qualify that Brahman spiritual practitioner without any ambiguity, Krishna tells Vijanadaha. Vijanadaha means the one who knows the self. a spiritual practitioner who knows the self, right? For a spiritual practitioner who knows the self, what is means he gives all sarveshu vedeshu, the entire scripture literature is means what is the use of the entire spiritual literature? He tells it is useful just like tavan sarvan, yeah, means tavan yavan. So the for a spiritual practitioner who came to know his true nature, for that person the Vedas or the scriptures are that much use, just like udapane sarvada samplutotake sarvataha, just like how much useful is a well in a rainy season. That's it. In a rainy season, there is no value for that well because the water is spread everywhere. That well becomes redundant and it is no use. So like that, for a person who accomplished his spiritual goals, who realized his true self, the Vedas or any other scripture is completely useless. He didn't condemn Veda because the well has a value when? During summer, correct? During summer, we won't get value from any other source. So we have to be dependent upon the finite water provided by that well. So you have to go to the well, get the water and come back. But once the flood is there, the well, there is no value. Like that, till you realize the self, till you identify that infinite joy within, right? You might be after all the scriptures. You might be invoking all the gods. For what? For that little bit blessing, because you feel that with that blessing, I'll be happy. But once you realize the self, you don't need any external aid for you to be happy, contented and anything, because you have discovered that infinite reservoir of happiness within. So I don't need any Vedas. I don't need a roadmap also. So another way to interpret is Vedas or the scriptures are roadmap for you to identify yourself. And once you reach the destination, what is the value of that roadmap? Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa brilliantly explains in his Vachanamritam this concept. So in olden days, people used to go to Calcutta and do the work. So in every holidays, they go to the village. And when they go to the village, the people from the village will write a letter. Okay, when you come back, bring this sweet, bring this color of shirt, etc. So that letter, somehow he misplaced. He was searching for that letter. But once he brought the content, what exactly is the value of that letter? The reason for that letter or the value or the significance of that letter is till you buy that product. But once you buy that product, it becomes useless. You will throw away that. So like that, Vedas are useful only before you self-realized, because you need that Veda as a guide, and you need that Vedic rituals, and you need that finite set of work for you to become happy. When I get a small promotion, I'll be happy. That's okay at this point of time. But once you self-realize, you will still strive for that promotion, but your level of happiness will be the same. And another thing is that, see, there is a baseline for anybody's happiness. If you have read the book I suggested, you would get that scientifically. So the book Learned Optimism, and there is another book called Authentic Happiness. These two books talks about this extensively. And Dr. Seligman tells like there is a baseline happiness. Some people, their baseline happiness is very low. They need something extraordinary to become in their life for happy. Generally, they are sad. And the second category of people are that what? They're generally happy. They need to have something bad to happen for not becoming happy. So that is the first priority. And we are talking about that second category of people. They will be happy. They don't need anything else or any other relationship or any material comfort to be happy. And everything else they collect is only for comfort. And even if it is a discomfort, they can be happy. So this is a brilliant example. And in our Upanishads, there is a famous verse. It tells When you self-realize, when you identify your own true nature, what happens? Vedo avedo bhavati. Veda becomes aveda. There afterwards no use. Can you see this in any other scriptures of the world? You're asked to throw away the scripture once you go there. This is such a revolutionary teaching. So one step further, there is a brilliant Vedantic book, a Prakarana book called Panchadashi. Anybody knows who has written this book?
Shankaracharya?
No, it's by Vidyaranya.
Dharanya.
Vidyaranya was an emperor, meaning was the minister of the Vijayanagara Empire. He became a monk after that, very successful administrator. He went to a monk and he wrote a book called Panchadashi. Amazing Vedantic book. It is a study, post-Upanishad study. He was reconciling the teachings of Upanishad. The Prakarana books are of two categories. One is a set of books has to be studied prior to the study of Upanishads, and the second category of books has to be studied after the study of Upanishad. So the Panchadashi is a book post-Upanishad studies. So this Panchadashi, he tells a Medhavi, meaning a person who has intelligence, approaches the book initially and learn the content of the book. And then what happens? Once you learn the book, content of the book, once it is assimilated, he will leave the book. He will not give more attachment, more importance to the book other than a roadmap. So some people, right? Some people get upset when some irresponsible person burned the Gita out of their ignorance. They get completely upset. Can they destroy the Gita by burning a copy of the Gita? Absolutely not. It's just like burning a roadmap. You have to understand, Gita or Bible or Quran has a high stature. It is that knowledge, not the book. So Vidyaranya said, Tyaje Grantham. That is what the language he has used. The word he has used, the example he has used is like you get the, what is that? The husk, and you get the rice, and what you do, the other stuff, throw away. So you get the Grantha, take the knowledge from it, and then leave the paper back. That is exactly what the idea told here. You all should be proud of, because this is such a profound teaching. It tells you, or it makes you understand the position of the scripture, where the scripture stays. So once again, just see the sequence. Started the Karma Yoga. He said, this Karma Yoga is very useful. And he said, typically people do karmas, whether it is Laukika Karma or Vaidya Karma, for finite outcomes. The problem with their attitude is they are extremely attached, or they are extremely emotionally dependent on a particular outcome for the action, whether it is a Laukika Karma or a Vaidya Karma. And as a result, what happens? Samadhau na vidyate. They cannot get a stable, pure mental state. And without that stable and pure mental state, they cannot be efficient in their action, and they cannot be contented at all. So Karma Yoga is a technique to transfer or change that actions into every action will go to a spiritual sadhana, like brushing of your teeth, reading the newspaper, studying a certification, studying for a certification. Everything will be converted into a spiritual practice. That is a revolutionary teaching, even though this is there in the Upanishad, but you cannot see the Karma Yoga as much as, means in this clarity in any other book like Bhagavad Gita. No other book gives this much clarity to Karma Yoga like Bhagavad Gita. So if you ask me what exactly is the special contribution of the Bhagavad Gita, it is this revolutionary idea of Karma Yoga. How to transfer your mundane work into a spiritual worship. So Krishna is not saying that you should be sitting and chanting Vishnu Sahasranama 24/7 for becoming spiritual. It's an attitude. So that's what it is. So, and he also tells, don't get addicted to scriptures also. Scriptures also is useful only as a roadmap. Any questions or comments?
So this is meant for the jnani, right? And not the jitnyasu. Jitnyasu still need to
Yes, absolutely.
be taken care of.
Absolutely. This is only for a jnani. Till then, like I'm traveling to say Tennessee from here. I still need a roadmap. But once I reach Tennessee, I don't need it. Once I reach the destination, so it's like a pole vault. They say, like another good example, Swami Chinmayananda used to say, the role of a scripture is that pole. If you get hold on to that pole, once you get on the top, that itself is a problem. So you have to leave the scripture and move on. Again, revolutionary teaching. Actually, it is not, you won't see such teaching in any conventional scriptures. It is, so people who blindly follow Krishna should really read what Krishna told. It just breaks their own conventions, a lot of conventions. So Gita, a lot of people, what they do? They put flowers in front of Gita. They prostrate in front of Gita, never study the Gita. They do everything except internalizing the Gita. So that's what is being criticized here. Okay, so let's go to one of the most popular words of the Gita. We will start and we will continue this a little bit next week. This is the definition of Karma Yoga in a sutra form. So Anu, if you could chant, that would be good.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फलहेतुर्भूः मा ते संगोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Who is there anybody who haven't heard of this verse?
I think this must be the first one everyone might have heard.
Yeah, everybody heard of this verse, and actually this is the chant used with the BR films, BR Chopra's company. All the serials and films they make, this is Karmanyevadhikaraste. So all of you who watch the olden Mahabharata, not the new one, like in our childhood we watched the Mahabharata, right? Which was a great Mahabharata. So the first thing come into the screen was this. And what is your understanding, popular understanding? Anybody? Any comment? What do you think? What is this verse? And this is the most popular verse, and this is the most misinterpreted verse also.
Yeah,
anybody
I think Rajesh
thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to share. I mean, like, I think this is well misinterpreted across like everybody. Like when we say that, okay, do your karma and don't expect anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's the popular understanding. So let's try to go to the Sanskrit and try to understand what exactly Bhagavan meant.
Yeah, true.
It's very important. So the popular understanding is, Sanjay ji, what you just said. You have the right only on the action, not on the result. What does that mean? You go to work, don't expect any salary. You teach Bhagavad Gita, don't expect any of you will learn. You try to teach your child, don't expect he or she will follow. You hire a fund manager and don't expect he will do a good job for you. A passive acceptance of the result. Is that what meant here? Absolutely not. So let's try to understand that. So this verse has 4 sutras. The first sutra is sutra means a cryptic codified equations. So karmani evaha adhikaraha tui. That is the first sentence. Karmani evaha adhikaraha te. Te means you, right? So let's go slowly and let's try to break every minor word and try to do a detailed analysis. Te, you. Karmani evaha adhikaraha te. You have adhikaraha. You means, let's go to adhikara. What exactly is adhikaraha? Adhikara only on karma. Karmani eva, only on karma you have adhikara. Hindi is very good. sometimes to understand Sanskrit. But in this context, the knowledge of the Hindi can backfire. I learned very interestingly, some of our local vernaculars has certain words which can give a totally opposite meaning to certain Sanskrit words. For example, the word samsara. In Tamil, samsara means what?
Wife.
Wife. Here, samsara means totally different, right? So, Rohitji, in Gujarati, the word upathi has a different meaning than the normal Vedantic terminology, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So like that, every word has different meaning in different vernacular. So adhikaraha in Sanskrit means it could be the choice, or it could be, for example, if you're a department head, the scope where you have control. For example, if you are a department head, do you have power or control or choice beyond your department? Absolutely not. If you have a CEO, you have control over your entire company. So adhikara means the scope in which you have control. For example, I have adhikara on certain things. You have adhikara on certain things. So the scope of control, the area, domain in which I do have control. So Krishna telling here that the control you have or the choice you have is only on the karma, action. Then let's see the next verse. Ma phaleshu kadajana. Not on the result. Ma phaleshu kadajana. Definitely never on the results. Let's try to analyze this verse. Let's try to understand the meaning and let's come back and try to understand this. So he tells the scope of control or the choice you have or the command you have or the control you have is only on action, not the results. Then the next verse. Ma karma phala hedurubhuhu. Don't consider yourself as the author or the commander of results. Only implied meaning is restrict yourself only to the author of the actions, not the results. Then mate sangostwa karmani. Even means because you are not the author of the results, don't get attached to inaction. Because if you don't act, no result will come, guaranteed. This is the literal meaning of the verse. But first of all, if you went through the linguistic meaning, where is Krishna saying that you should not expect any results? Absolutely not, right? Ma phaleshu kadajana. He tells you don't have control over the results. That doesn't mean that don't expect results. Shankaracharya tells that even a fool won't do anything without expecting result. Even a fool won't do any action without expecting result. So don't think that you can do any action without expecting a result. Swami Chinmayananda used to say that Krishna would not have taught Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna without expecting a result. You won't do anything without expecting a result. So let's leave that notion out of our head. So we need to understand the karma. Remember, we had that supplementary lesson. We said that whatever is the output, it is depending upon multiple factors. Correct? So you are going to invest, say, $1,000 today into the market right now. What exactly you have in your control? Can you tell me? Which stock you are investing? Do you have control?
Yes.
No.
Right? And do you have control over to do some research on the performance of that stock? You can go to Yahoo Finance and you can see in the last 30 years how the stock was performing. And you can even seek some fund managers' advice. What would be everything? So once you have all these things, you have control. That is exactly what we are saying. Karmani evaha adhikaraste. So if I take this phone, this is the classic example. I'm modernized example. Okay. So in good and old days, it's a different example, but I am just saying that. I can say that I want to drop it. But do I have a choice? How many pieces it should break? It should be broken as 10 pieces or 15 pieces. I have no choice. But I do have the choice to do the research on physics and say that if I drop this in this particular angle, this may break or this may not break, and this will break in exactly in this way or that way. I do have the choice to do the research. And I do have the choice to put this in a particular form. I do have the choice to do all the research of the stock market. And I do have the research to identify what exactly is the stock I want to invest. But once the money invest, Corona came in, right? What happened? The whole thing got crashed. Now it's not that bad, but remember that 2009 time, a lot of people were about to retire. They had they got any control on that? So the result may not be entirely dependent upon your action alone. Your action definitely might be a contributing factor, but there could be hidden variable which contribute or which affect positively or negatively on your result. For example, you invested $1,000, you are expecting, say, 15% return. Those who invested 5 years back in Amazon, right? How much? 200%, 300 times the stock went up. So it is much beyond their expectation. That can happen. And some people invested on some poor companies, hype startup companies in 2001, right? That dot-com bubble. The capital itself is gone. So the point is, you have 100% control over what you can do, how you can do, when you can do, the way you can do. You have control. So that is what is karmani evaha adhikaraste. So look at the word adhikara as the domain where I do have my power or choice or control. And then Krishna tells, ma phaleshu kadajana. Result is not entirely dependent upon. It's not a linear equation where you change one point here, the other is going to change accordingly. This is not a linear equation. You're missing some factors which are impacting the results. Sometimes you may have more visibility. Sometimes you may have less visibility. So your choice or control is completely on the action, not on the results. Isn't it clear? Any doubt? Who can dispute this statement? Got the meaning, right? This is totally different from what is being spread and taught. That is why I wanted to spend that linguistic meaning. So the choice given to me or the control given to me is only on the actions, not on the result. And he make it very clear. Ma karma phala hedurbohu. Do not consider yourself as the author or the commander of the results. I can order the action. I cannot order the result. I can put the money into the stock. How much I get? If I had that control, my God, I would have retired now, right? Absolutely, I don't have the control. Understand that. And then what? Made sangos tvakarmani. Now, the moment you realize that you have control only on the action, not on the result, what would be my natural tendency? There is no point in working. And he say that mate sangos tvakarmani. Don't try to skip your role. If I don't invest the money, do I get any result? Absolutely not. So know that your action is a contributing factor and you have to do that action to the best of your ability without worry and anxiety. And then what? Accept the result, whatever you get. So while performing the action, you should do it in the most efficient manner. The last line indicate that. And then when you get the result, in spite of your best result, whatever, in spite of your best action. If you get a contrary result, accept it gracefully. Let me ask you, what else you have? What is the choice you have? No choice. This is a graceful living. And this is what is being taught in the corporate. And I saw in one of the corporate seminar, this verse is literally quoted. This is so powerful. This is being studied in a lot of universities, colleges as part of the management research. But we Indians still sit and misinterpret this verse the way we want to see. The choice is only the right is only to work. No results. Ancient days, these landlords used to cheat the people by quoting this Gita verse. Can you imagine? So people try to abuse and misuse this verse for their self-interest, which is totally contrary to the Gita teaching. This is only the linguistic analysis we did. We have to go furthermore. So this is one verse which defined the Karma Yoga in the most best possible way, right? So once again, Karmani evaha adhikaraha tve. You have the control or choice or right, not right. The word right is not good here. You have the control, choice or command over your action, not on the results. Therefore, do the work, meaning don't consider yourself as the author of the results and also not get attached to inaction. Do the best. So let's see the linguistic meaning a little bit more. So if you break the words apart, it's a karmani evaha adhikaraha tve ma phaleshu kadajana. So if you really look at this orange color box, what I tried to do, this is based on somebody's request. I forgot who it is. They wanted me to break the words from the sandhis so that you can understand each words. So that's why it is karmani evaha adhikaraha tve ma phaleshu kadajana ma karma phala hetuhu. You are not the author of the result. Mate sangaha astu akarmani. This is when you combine this, the sandhi will mate sangostu akarmani. So there are three sentences here. The first sentence is your choice or your control is only on the action. Te adhikaraha karmani evaha. Your control or the choice is only on the action. Ma phaleshu kadajana. Never on the results thereof. That is the first sentence. Second sentence is don't be like Mabhu, author of the results of the action. Karma phala hetuhu. Karma phala hetuhu. Karma means action. Phala means result. Hetuhu means cause. You are not the cause of the result. Of course, you are not the author of the result. You are not the commander of the result. Of course, you are the commander of the action. And then what? Te sangaha ma astu akarmani. Let there be not attached to inaction. Because if you don't do any action, nothing will happen. Such a brilliant verse. Please try to remember this verse. Please try to remember the meaning of this verse. So this is one of the top 18 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Please keep this. So I said I'll pick 18 verses. So far we picked up 2 and this is the third one. So we will try to explore Karma Yoga a little bit more in the next class and we will continue with the Karma Yoga. So this is the essence of Karma Yoga. I have seen a lot of corporate classes, seminars, everything related on the same subject. Any comments? At least the literal meaning is clear, right? Excellent. Okay, so Anu, would you mind doing some chanting like from 38 to 47, if you don't mind? That is the entire Karma Yoga topic.
Sure. Sukha-dukhe same kritva labha-labhau jaya-jayo tato yuddhaya yuchyasva naivam papamavapsyasi esha te bhihita sankhe buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात् व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखाह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम् यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं प्रवदन्त्यविपश्चितः वेदवादरताः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः जन्मकर्मफलप्रदां क्रियाविशेषबहुलां भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानां तयापहृतचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान् यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि.
Excellent. So once again, 3 verses we saw. The first verse, Krishna is saying that the Vedas and every worldly action, whether it is Lauki karma or Vaidya karma, will produce a result, a finite result, and that result would be good or bad or indifferent to you, and that will create emotional dependency. So he is saying that just remove that emotional dependency. Nistraigunyo Bhava Arjuna. And freed from these pairs of opposite, Nirdvanto, by establishing yourself into the higher, and Niryoga means freed from the yoga and Shema by gaining control over your body, mind, and intellect. That is the thing we are going to see in Karma Yoga. And he also say that don't get over attached to the scripture. The value of the scripture is only to give the knowledge. Once the knowledge is given, the scripture is redundant. And then he defined the Karma Yoga with that brilliant verse, Karmani evaha adhikaraha tve ma bhaleshu kadajana ma parma phala hedurubhohu ma de sangosto karmani. The choice is only on the action, not on the results. And don't know that you are not the author of the result, and don't get to inaction. So we will continue to explore this a little bit further, but please contemplate upon that. And we will see next Sunday. And just a comment, Anu is going to start her chanting practices immediately after the July 4th weekend. So she will try to teach those verses we cover in the class. So that way you can learn to chant. Kids are welcome to join, or anybody who wants to learn chanting is welcome to join. She will teach you really how to chant. Only those who are interested. I'm sure a lot of people were interested, so that is good. Anu, thank you very much for taking this. This is really good. Supplement.
Sure, thank you so much.
Okay, have a great week. We will see in between. We have Tuesday Gita and Thursday Arthur. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thanks, Rajesh.